Welcome back everybody to another video here with Kyle Chris, and today we're going to be going over a set 16 list for Finn. So make sure you guys stick around and watch it. If you guys like these videos, make sure you guys like and subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. If you guys want other ways to support the channel, there will be links down below for that stuff as well. I just started posting videos through Facebook. No Facebook group yet, but definitely are going to work on that, and you guys can add me on Facebook. We can discuss stuff about these sort of lists. As well as that, I will be starting the Patreon soon, as well as the coaching session soon. So if you guys are interested in both of those, stay tuned. I'll be posting some stuff about those once we get those uploaded. I'm trying to figure out a way to, I have most of the content done, and kind of what I want to do with them. I just need to figure out a way of implementing into the videos and things like that. So so Finn here, this is a list that is prioritized for best of 3. So I'm not gonna go over the side deck. That will be anytime I play it in a locals or a regional or some sort of tournament like that, I will definitely post the full list. But I definitely will make a sort of Patreon content that will go over best of 3, best of 1 lists for decks like Finn, what you can look for in matchups, key side deck cards, things like that. So it's a 54 card list, and Finn, if you guys don't know, is a very mid-range / control deck that really utilizes keeping your opponent's board clear and using your leader as sort of a game ender. Because your leader can gain every keyword skill in the game just by absorbing a card, makes it very difficult to deal with, right? So on this side, when he swings, he draws a card, and he has an activate main where you choose one of your opponent's battle cards if all of your energy is black, and you absorb it. No energy requirement, no energy requirement for you, no energy cost requirement for the card you're absorbing. You just grab a card. The other auto is whenever you absorb a card, you draw a card, and you take life down to you have 6, which is basically your awaken skill. You also can awaken at 4 life, which is a draw 2. It generally won't happen unless you're in a weird aggro matchup and they're not playing battle cards. On this side, the activate main is the whole basic part of the leader. So you draw a card, you choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards on the side of the field and absorb it. Then you choose one card underneath this card and choose a keyword skill off of it and gain it till the end of the turn. Now, the big thing that came out with this leader when it first got announced was there was a ruling where people thought if you absorb a skillless card, because it's now skillless, you can't actually gain any of the keyword skills under it. But because it is leaving a battle area going into another battle area, it now reverts back to its normal state, meaning it has all of its keyword skills. So if you originally at some point in the game you absorbed a double striker, when it goes back to your opponent's side of the field, it is skillless. Then when you absorb it again, now the card has its full skills underneath Finn, and then you can gain double strike again. So it is something to keep in mind. People, for whatever reason, weren't playing it that way, but that is how it's played. Permanent, additionally, you have 5k given to this card for every card underneath him, and that is both on your turn and your opponent's turn. There's ways of putting them under for both, and then the auto is at the end of your turn. All battle cards are placed back in your opponent's side of the board with their skills negated for the turn, and then any additional cards underneath him are placed in the drop area. So if there's a way to absorb cards from your opponent's hand, like extra cards or things like that, or if you have a way to absorb unisons other than one card we have in the deck, they would go to the drop area instead. So that is a leader, and we'll go over the list here, which I do feel is very powerful sort of build of this deck. So we have 3 of the Demigra Demonic Defender. This is a 1-drop. It's a 1-drop cantrip. You draw a card, and if you have an opponent has a skillless card in play, this becomes a barrier blocker. So you absorb your opponent's battle card. You play this. You draw a card. You pass their turn. The skills card goes into their battle area, and now you have a 15. Now you have a barrier blocker, which is very good. Just gives you defense early. You also can use a late game just to kind of cantrip some cards and to keep you on the defensive end. The other 1-drop is going to be the Toa calling the Horde. This is your searcher. Searches top 5 for a demon realm race or android, black android, energy cost of 3 or less, or a 2-drop unison. Spirit boost effect, you place 1 card underneath your leader into the drop area, which does come into to play sometimes. Sometimes you don't want your opponent to get cards back, so you place them in the drop area. The other Toa we run for the Toa package is going to be Twisted Sister. Twisted Sister is very cool. So this is a counterplay. You can play it whenever your opponent plays something. You draw a card, and then you choose one of your opponent's battle cards, and you choose a card in your opponent's drop area, and you bottom deck it. Why that's cool, or actually shuffles it back in. Yeah, so they shuffle actually 1 card back in. So it's any card. So if you're playing against a, let's say, I don't know, like a Wish deck, or a deck where your opponent needs a battle card in the drop area to actually do stuff, you actually can just play this and then just put it back into their deck. Just keeps drop area stuff out of there, but the fact that it chooses one card, meaning you can choose any card in there. So it can be a Unison, battle card, extra card, whatever. The last Toa we run is the new Umbral Might Toa. So put the board to the side here. So this package, I feel, is very, very powerful. When it first got announced, this card got announced, I instantly thought of Finn. So this is a 15k 3-drop. It evolves for 2 energy on top of a Toa. Energy cost of 2 or less, so both of these are targets. And when you evolve into this card, when this card is played from your hand, which means it also from the evolved effect, you draw a card. Then your opponent chooses 2 battle cards, either in their battle area and or their hand, and they send them to the warp. If they do not, you can choose one of your opponent's Unisons with 4 markers on it or more and gain control over it. So this is not something that you're going to do super early game. You can to kind of push damage, so you don't have to do the other effect, because if your opponent doesn't have a Unison in play, they'll just choose not to warp the cards. But if your opponent has a Unison of 4 markers or more, this card becomes insanely powerful. So as long as you're not playing against blue, most time this card's going to be absolutely nuts. So you play this, doesn't matter if your opponent decides to counterplay it or do whatever, right? You draw a card and they have to warp 2 cards. If they don't, then you just get their Unison, and the Unison has all of its skills. So you can plus it, you can do whatever you want with it. And that's very powerful, because now you just steal a resource from them, and it makes the game much more difficult for them to actually deal with. So this is definitely something to actually look out for. I run out of the 3 of, you can do 4. I think 3 is kind of fine just because we're able to search it out, and that's something we're going to be playing a ton of, just sort of like a utility card for the engine. Next is going to be the Unison, which is going to be the Majin Buu Skill Hunter. So the big thing with this card is people instantly just think of Bardock, right? And as good as Bardock is good in most black decks as the just most generically good black Unison. This card actually works much better than Bardock does. So the main thing is this is a 15k. When you activate main, you +1. This card gains 5k for the turn. So it's a 20k swing, which means it can attack the 20k Unisons, like Boo, Jiren, Dark Broly, things like that. -1, you choose any of your opponent's battle cards and place it underneath this card, meaning you can absorb another battle card without having to use your leader effect. So you can absorb 2 different things. And permanent, your opponent's skills battle cards cannot attack this. Meaning, when you absorb a card underneath this, when it goes back to their side of the field, that card cannot attack their Unison. Essentially giving them one last card that they can't actually use to kill your Unison, which is very, very ridiculous to deal with, right? Also, the auto on this, whenever a skillless Unison or a skillless battle card is played in your opponent's battle area or the Unison area, you draw a card. So, and this is this is on your turn. So what happens is when your leader passes your turn at the end of the turn, you play the card back on the other side of the field. And when you play the card back, this auto will trigger, and then you'll draw a card. So essentially, you're still drawing a card like you are from Bardock. This is just a little bit more difficult to kill. So you can play Bardock, but I definitely think this is probably the better Unison for the deck. So I would say if you're playing it, try this Unison out. It's a little bit better. 2 Demigra. Great Overwhelm card, right? We don't run a ton of Overwhelm in this deck, aside for 1 chain, and just having this as a 2-drop Overwhelm 5 just applies a lot of pressure, right? You draw a card, you warp a battle card on board, and then you swing 30k, warp a card every single time. It's a lot of times this card's not going to live on board, so it's why we try not to run too many of them. But elongated matchups, definitely, like a lot of red matchups, this card becomes very useful. Just putting on to put pressure and then warp cards from their hand. Very, very good. 3 Power Burst. I wanted to run 4, but deck space really tight. But 3 is fine. I think it's a good number. 1 Petrification and 1 Token Negate. This is, I wanted to really just show kind of the versatility. So you can run a 2-2-2 split. You can run 2 of these and 0 of these. But I think they both have usage, which is why I wanted to show them off. So this is obviously your Token Negate. When you're at 5 or less life, you can activate this for free, play a token, take a life, and now it's a 5k blocker. Very, very good. You also have Petrification, which you pitch a card and you choose any of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier. Negated skills, negate all autos and pending, can't be comboed, can't attack, activate skills, whatever. Why this is good in the meta, you Universe 7 Goku with the 8-drop. Your opponent swings at the 8-drop, their auto goes in the pending, you use this. You negate that card's effects. None of the autos trigger. Point blank, very good card, right? And Power Burst, obviously being able to get back into your 1-drop, so you have both Toas and the Demigra that you can get back as well. So pretty good defense there from the extra card standpoint. The best extra card though that we run is gonna be Absorption of Doom. So Absorption of Doom, opponent has a, I think it's a, it's a 1-drop negate, and if your opponent has a skillless battle card or Unison in play, they get 2 more attacks for the turn. So once this triggers, if you counter with another one, the effect doesn't reoccur. The effect's already in process, so they only get the 2 battle card swings. But if your opponent has 2 or more battle cards in play, you actually can activate this effect from your hand for free by pitching a card with this. So you basically pitch 2, and you can activate it for free. So it just gives you another negate. And sometimes you want to get cards in the drop area for overwhelm and things like that, or maybe even sparking. So it's pretty good. So like you can use this to drop something else, and then you can, if that gets you to 5 sparking, now you have one of your power bursts. You can take a life and sparking and negate, right? So pretty powerful. Very good, very good negate. Got to run out of the 4 of. 2 Demigra Skill Hunter. This is a cool card. It's a 1-drop if your opponent has a skillless Unison or battle card in play. And then when you play it for 1, you can swing with it, and limit once per turn, you can draw a card. So it's just a cool little 1-drop 20k that draws a card. Very cool. Generally, you're only gonna have one of them on board, so you can only draw off of 1. But it is a very cool pressure piece because you can play out multiple on the turn. You can only just draw once per turn. So it's a cool looking card. Very powerful for what it does. Just a good little tech slot. Also searchable. 4 Vegeta super combos. I can't find another super combo that I actually would want to run in the deck. Personally, because of the way I play this deck, I don't want to be at 4 life. So I don't want to play this super combo, but I don't really think there's another choice right now, because we don't overwhelm a lot. So Goten's not super active all the time. It may be the Trunks, which is sparking 5, or the Toa, since it's searchable. So that may be an option, but I don't know. As of right now, we're just running Vegeta. You can play pretty defensive until you get the 4 life, so that does come up sometimes. So currently just running Vegeta. If I change my mind in the future, you'll see it in an updated video. New card from the new set, Crimson Hero Strike. This is the RAR, as I call them, the Realm Attack Rare. So for 1 energy, you give any card 10k, and then additionally, if it is your turn, you can choose one of your opponent's battle cards higher energy cost than their current energy and warp it. On your turn, you draw a card and you mill top 3. Yep, so you mill up to top 3 cards of your deck, which is good again. Helps you kind of get ready for overwhelm. If you're going to overwhelm Demigra on turn 2, you can play this. Burst 3, this is the 4th card, and you probably have another card in your drop area, so then you can get to 5. Then you can Demigra. It is a very good card for defense. That's kind of why we run it. We don't run it for the offensive capability, since our leader has so much spot removal. We don't need it. We just use it for the 10k, boost, or the 10k boost on defense plus the draw. 2 Oceanus the Gates. I love this card. I think it's very good for longer matchups. Just a 2-drop. Opponent can't answer it. They got to mill 4 every time they attack. Gives you a defensive card. You can actually use this, and then follow up with a power burst. Follow up with a token negate. Follow up with Absorption of Doom for free. Very, very powerful. I think 2 is probably fine for the deck. You probably, like I said, depending on the meta, you could probably side deck a 3rd one. So now we get to the Finn package. So we have 2 Unit Absorber, 3 Evolutionary Premonition, 3 of the All Absorber, and 2 of the I think it's Coercion Incarnate. I think that's how it's called. So this is probably the main portion of the deck. This is like the main archetype thing that you should run. Everything else is just kind of filler, right? So Finn Absorber here, this has the ability to absorb a Unison. When you combo with it, it comes into play, and then you can absorb a Unison. It comes back at the end of the turn with 2 markers on it, and doesn't have skills for the turn. There are ways to obviously get the skills back. This is the new guy, and this guy actually is what makes the deck far better than what it was. So it's a 2-drop, Barrier Deflect. You play it, you draw a card. Then Spirit Boost 1 if you have I think it's 4 more energy. Yeah, if you Spirit Boost off of a black Unison with energy cost 2 or more, And you have 4 more energy. You Spirit Boost, and then you choose an 8 drop in your hand and play it on top of this card. That's really cool, right? So now this is our turn. This is our 3 energy play that we just used for 2. Very, very good, right? This card reads, the All Absorber. When you play it, you Spirit Boost. Then if your leader's Finn, sorry, phone went off there a little bit. So if your leader is Finn, you choose all of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, and place them underneath your leader. Again, choose all your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier, place them under your leader. That's incredibly powerful, right? Your opponent has a huge board, they even have barrier cards. Cool, I'm going to play this. I'm going to get rid of all of them, right? Once you do that, obviously they'll come back at the end of the turn, but you have the ability on this card, you can actually activate main to put a card from your leader under your leader in the drop area, and then you restand this guy once per turn. So he's a 25k dual attacker in that sense. The other effect on him is how we used to play him out, which is for 4, if you have 4 more energy, you tap 3, and you have to have a card underneath your leader already, and then you put that card underneath him in the drop, and you play him and you Spirit Boost. So this way is just 1 energy cheaper. You do draw a card, but now you have to Spirit Boost 2. Not a huge deal. Our Unison's going to have a lot of markers on it. So this is kind of your big boss play. You want to use this to put all those cards underneath your leader. Your leader then gains all that power. Then you can activate main, choose a keyword skill, whether it's double strike, triple strike, whatever, and then you swing. And it just ends up being incredibly difficult for a lot of decks to deal with. Obviously they can just negate, but wiping a whole board for 2 energy, very, very irritating. And we have another board wipe for 2 energy. So this guy here, he's Deflect. And this card is actually just generically good in any black decks. If you don't have this and you play black, probably should buy it before it ends up going up. It's just going to take 1 black deck to play this card, and then people are just going to buy it out. So I would advise buying it out now, so you don't have to run into what people are running into right now with red, with how expensive red cards are, because our red deck actually, topped something. So, but back to this deck. So you play this for 2 if your leader's black. Your opponent chooses 1 of their cards, then they choose the rest of their battle cards and place them in the warp. So essentially it's a 2-drop board wipe, but instead of it going to the drop and underneath your leader like this one does, like this guy does, they goes to the warp. So you play it, your opponent chooses 1 of their battle cards, everything else goes to the warp. Obviously they can't choose barrier. They can choose they can choose an indestructible guy. They can choose another card, and then the indestructible card doesn't leave. But any other board, you're gonna play this and just warp everything. It's incredibly powerful. And that's the Finn line there. The last line is going to be the Mira line, which we have 4 of the Vow of the Creator and 2 Creator Absorbed. So this is really set up to be your game finisher in a sense, but not always going to be a game finisher. So in some matchups, you can actually just overwhelm this guy out for 3. People forget that this card is actually just its own card by itself, right? Overwhelm 3, you draw a card and warp a card. It's very powerful. So you have some cycling effects in there, right? So you swing it to 15k, you can activate for 3. You can choose a toe in the drop area or in the warp, place it underneath this, and then choose a 7-drop Mira from your warp or your hand and place it on top of it, which is this guy here. When this card's played using the Union Fusion skill or a Union skill, your opponent warps 3 cards from their hand, and then it gains double strike for the turn. And then obviously you guys should know what this card does when it swings. Card gains 5k for every card in your warp. So it's very good as a game ender. You only need to run 2, because once you find it, you pitch it off of Absorption of Doom or Petrification, you put it in the drop, you warp it away, and this card can always be live. And we run it as a 4 of because we want to make sure that we see it, but also you also can just bait your opponent out, right? There's been times where like I'll just play this, my opponent will just Yamcha it. I'm like, okay, cool. Or like I'll swing it through the Wolfang Fist or the God Sealing it or whatever, right? And that just takes away effects for later on in the game. It's a free overwhelm. That's something that people have to remember. It's free. Like I'm just gonna play it for free, draw a card, and it is just a 15k body. So if I want to do the -3, I can. Generally, I'll play a bunch of stuff and I'll swing at this guy to push pressure on, and then if they get rid of it, they get rid of it, right? I don't try to use this as my main game ending, but being able to rip cards out of your opponent's hand, they got 4 cards left in deck, or like 4 cards left in hand. You play this, they can't answer it. You play this, and then you just warp 3 away, and then you can generally win the game. So. The last card, which is the most important card that came out of the new set, I'm sure you guys could have guessed, so it's going to be the Super Mira. So Super Mira is a very powerful, very, very powerful Unison. I think mainly just for this deck. Like, it is a yellow Unison technically, so you can't play it in any yellow deck. I just don't know why you would play it over Magic and More or anything. But -4, or not -4, but the 4 colorless. If your leader is a black android, you can play this card from your hand with 4 markers on it. So in this deck, you can play it because our leader is an android, right? It is an ultimate, dual attack, blocker, and power 3 black or yellow. So essentially, if you have your Unison in play already, and let's say you have 3 markers on this guy, right? You can play him for 4, and then he'll gain those 3 markers plus the 4 that he gets from playing it, with them, which takes him up to 7, which is the perfect number because then it allows him to use his -4 effect. So first effect, it was +1. Whenever your opponent's card attacks, you switch this card to active mode, and then it is a 25k blocker, so you can block with it, activate main, block with it again. So it actually has some pretty interesting usage there, right? -4, you choose all of your opponent's battle cards in rest mode, ignoring barrier, and KO them. Switch up to 2 of your opponent's cards to rest mode. This card gains 15k and double strike for the turn, so it becomes a 40k dual attack double striker. Compare this with your leader, you should be able to end most games on that turn. Very, very terrifying. Very, very terrifying. So you also can play this like on turn 4. Like this is actually not a terrible turn 4 play because you can play it, swing it, you can swing stuff down, and now you have a 25k blocker that can block twice, not to mention using Absorption of Doom, right? So you can actually stop a ton of attacks, keep this guy on board, and then just use him as a pressure piece. And then there's turns where you can actually get out the whole Mira chain, right? Like you can -4 in this guy, like on turn 5, play this guy, and now you have these 2 double strikers plus your leader effect. Like you can go insanely crazy with attacks. It just really depends on the matchup here. But yeah, I definitely think this is the best secret rare for the deck. You can run Supreme Kai as well. It's very good just for clearing stuff, but this actually just gives the deck a much needed endgame card that wasn't Mira, because Mira was kind of the main focus of the deck, and thankfully green's not super popular or very good right now, so you don't have to really worry about charismatic villain. But other decks, like just playing Mira into a blue boo was just bad. You're just like, oh, okay, cool. I can't really do much, right? But being able to play this, wipe a board, and then tap down energy, like if it was a Vegeta Union Infusion, incredibly powerful. And then being able to use your leader effect and other things, you can just wipe out cards. So that's the Finn deck for you guys. Again, we will be posting more exclusive content on the Patreon, going over this leader in much more detail. Definitely have some more deck profiles coming up whenever we end up playing this card, this deck at locals, and have some cards that I think that slot very, very well into this deck. That can make it a kind of a rogue deck going into GamerFest or other regionals, or any of your local stuff that's very, very competitive. So thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.